ladies and gentlemen and friends who are joining us for this distinguished lecture series on energy efficiency. Thank you, sir. We are very privileged to have Mr. P. Thiagarajan, Managing Director of Blue Star, as the speaker for today's afternoon session. Mr. Thiagarajan has been. Can I have the next slide, Divesh? Mr. Thiagarajan has been the Managing Director of Blue Star, has more than 4 decades of experience in the industry, and we are privileged to have him speaking to us today. Can I have the next slide, Divesh? Mr. Thiagarajan, specific areas of interest are in terms of manufacturing, industry 4.0, environment, sustainability, and green building is one which is of great interest to Mr. Thiagarajan. And he has also been extensively involved in diversity, affirmative action, and also the total cost management division of CII. Next slide, please. Mr. Thiagarajan has contributed extensively through various initiatives in the CII. He has been the Vice Chairman of the Indian Green Building Council, IGBC, National Vice Chairman. He is the immediate past chair of CII Western Region Council, the past President of Rama, Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Manufacturers Association, past Chairman of CII Maharashtra State, and he is a nominated member of the CII National Council for a long period of time. So Thiagarajan holds a bachelor's degree in electrical and electronics engineering from Madurai University, and also has completed a senior executive program at London Business School. Apart from all this, Mr. Thiagarajan has been extremely articulate and very, very precise in his communication. He is one of the most sought after experts and representatives of the industry in various business channels such as CNBC. Last but not the least, Mr. Thiagarajan practices what he preaches. Under his leadership, Blue Star is aspiring to become a net zero company. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Thiagarajan, for joining us for this distinguished lecture. I would request you to take over. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Giri, for that generous introduction. I am not very sure I am a speaker who can be concise. One of my problems, that the constant complaint I get is I exceed the time granted to me. Western region knows that never I completed the Western Regional Council meetings or in CI any of the panels. I don't think in the past 20 years I would have completed any session on time. So today, Giri, you have to ensure that I complete on time. That's how all meetings begins. Let us see. I'm extremely grateful to the IGBC Secretariat to invite me to address today. I'm also grateful to the past chairs of Indian Green Building Council, Mr. Parasuraman, Mr. Suresh, and for their bestowing me with the opportunity to serve IGBC. It's very difficult to fill their shoes, and today the current chair is Gurmeet, and I'm not sure whether he is attending today, but Gurmeet has been doing an extraordinary job to keep pace with him, and work is also a joy. And I am privileged to be associated with IGBC for more than now 2 decades. I am not, the disclaimer is that I am not an expert, technical expert in energy efficiency. Quite often I reflect that I know what I am not, but I am not sure what I am. But I am not, list includes that I am not an expert in, a technical expert or a subject matter expert on energy efficiency. But having said that, my perspective on that, a very candid talk on a business leader's perspective on this subject, how our journey had been, and as a country, as a world, and what is in store, and how we can make a difference. And these are general thoughts for debate. And I'm deliberately not. I told Giri that I wouldn't be touching upon Blue Star or so. That it's not the intention here. I would be. I pray that I'm able to open your minds to think about a few things. Uh, I must acknowledge the great contribution IGBC has made for this sustainability movement, and not just the green building movement. Mr. Suresh often tells that we are beyond buildings now, and we are beyond green. We are into net zero, and we are doing the beyond buildings into whether it is factories or whether it is connected with the city, so on and so forth. The whole ecosystem IGBC is addressing, but the name remains as IGBC. And you might have seen the slides before the meeting that, it was only a couple of months ago, it will be 7,100 projects. It has moved to 7,600. Same way that 8 billion square feet will fast move to 9 billion. So we are ranked, and we are sure that we will be number two. We will be number one in the world. And exceptional work done by the stakeholders, the past chairs who are part of this session today, IGBC Secretariat, IGBC Executive Board members, and all the members of IGBC, to under Dr. Jain's vision, when it started to today, that one wouldn't have imagined it can become such a huge movement, including the contribution being made by the student chapters. One of the big success stories in the industry in my lifetime, if I had to list some five, you tell what had happened, I will definitely include the birth of IGBC and to where it has come. The entire credit goes to Mr. Jamshed Godrej. And Giri mentioned I walk the talk. If there is one icon who is doing that, even at the cost of his business, it is Mr. Jamshed Godrej. That is, he means it, and he does it exceptionally well today. I haven't come across an individual who can be committed to that so very closely and intimately. And for many decades, he has been doing so. Now, the we also must take pride in the fact that as a country, in energy efficiency part of it, we have done exceptionally well. The birth of Bureau of Energy Efficiency or the energy conservation laws and regulations, the way it came in and to where it is today. In quite a few equipment, we are global benchmark in terms of how we have progressed to bring in the standards there. But here I can quote an air conditioning industry example how it happened. In late 90s, many of you will be aware that 40% of the air conditioners were, to be precise, 45 in 1992, was assembled units. So the assemblers came into picture because of high excise duty regime, 110% excise duty. So if you are assembling, buying the components, you were escaping. So we were Voltas, Blue Star, Amtrak, Hitachi, Carrier, like that. A few companies were there branded. We used to be having struggled that how you compete with the assemblers. Now, at that point of time, the classical example of how a regulation can take off, an alignment will come, was not just the energy efficiency. Yes, we all were committed to energy efficiency for a different reason that time. Reason was there was huge power cut. So there has to be a summer season which should be severe, and in summer season only power cut will come. So therefore, you wanted a air conditioner which will not consume so much of power. That was indeed important. But the industry went ahead and lobbied for energy labeling because we wanted to keep the assemblers away. So here is an example where it is just not the sustainability goal. Here there was a business reason as well. So here the air conditioning industry had represented that we want energy labeling. It was with a different agenda altogether. We wanted to keep the assemblers out of the picture. So it was an industry-led initiative. And when Dr. Ajay Mathur came as the first Director General of BE, and he created the way. Again, it was a unique example where the government will never implement anything without industry's total concurrence. It was a joint development, what it takes to develop a product and in what frequency we need to do and what will be our global benchmarks. And it was a law and regulation evolving with the full commitment of the industry and a very successful program. So therefore, that while I take pride in IGBC's thing, and equally we have the energy labeling program coming out, and as a country we could. The fact of the matter is that we still have a very long way to go. All of us have to do the work. So what is preventing us? In the matter of sustainability alone, we are talking about global warming and the safety of the environment and the climate change related issues, keeping many years and decades apart. Now, my understanding is that each individual makes a difference, but it has to be done that way only. So the real problem here is people are not realizing I can also make a difference. Now another thing is, this is not here and now issue. It is about what will happen 20 years later, 30 years later, 40 years later. So you can mobilize people and get them going if you are going to be showing a result here and now. Now, in a net zero mission of a country, net zero mission of a company, the goal that you said, it is going to take time for it to be delivered. And one of the issues we have is that how do we make everyone believe they are making a difference by themselves and it is worth doing it. So that is where the issue is. I told you the amazing story of IGBC, that how these individuals came forward and walked along and still continue to be. The membership continues to grow. And but we have another 80% of the people in this country, or 90%, are yet to join this movement. And so I'm tabling this as one issue, that how the participants here are committed to this, but we are not very sure whether everyone around us is committed to this movement. Even if they are committed, whether they are believing that they can make a difference, and even if they are going to make a difference, whether they know how they can make a difference. So the mission is about that. And I think it is possible to get them along with us and carry forward the journey. Now, what it will take also, we will apply our mind here. Now, I have no doubt that irrespective of the religion, irrespective of the country of origin, irrespective of the demography, we are committed to sustainability in some way. Because I'm reading here from 3 religions, the Holy Quran. 500 out of 6,000 verses deal with nature. It talks about trees or mountains, seas, animals, birds, stars. And there is a verse where even if on the day of judgment should arrive, even if the day of judgment should arrive, and you are holding a sapling in your hand, plant it. So Quran talks about it, that you have to do this even on the day of judgment. So if you look at the Holy Bible, you have got, let the heavens rejoice, let the earth be glad, let the sea resound and all that is in it. Let the fields be jubilant and everything in them. Let all the trees of the forest sing for joy. Or look at another verse there. The earth dries up and withers. The earth is defiled by its people. They have disobeyed the laws. So this is in Isaiah, where it is talking about this. In Revelation, the nations were angry and your wrath has come, and for destroying those who destroyed earth. So it is part of Bible. And if it is Hinduism, that we know the bhutas, where space, air, fire, water, earth we talk about, and the Upanishads. From Brahman arises space, from space arises air, from air arises fire, from fire arises water, and from water arises earth. Now, the Dharma, whichever way you take it, including Mahabharata, stay in harmony with the nature, is the teaching that we have with us. And our homes were built, the temples and churches and mosques, or the prayers and ritual, it is all about harmony with nature. And we have debated this in many green building congress events. And this year again in October, we will have some interesting discussions on the subject. And we had the COVID, and it is, even though there are no direct evidence, but we know very well climate change alters how we relate with other species. And obviously, it has got something to do with the climate change as well. But there are papers will come out many, many years later, but we know this is what is happening. Now, you have in pockets excellence being demonstrated. There is absolutely no doubt about it. There are green villages as much as there are many green buildings, green factories, and the commitment that we have demonstrated. And most importantly, India, in terms of technology, let's talk about the energy efficiency. I do not think that we are behind at all. If there is an energy efficient product to be developed, and we have the competence that has been demonstrated in various industries. Take, for example, LED lighting, or take, for example, the EV related the work that is happening in India, or it is the air conditioning, refrigeration. We have demonstrated that. And the IGBC's own example of many existing buildings getting converted into green buildings, again, you are seeing extraordinary amount of competence being demonstrated by the engineers and other stakeholders. You do have the need for regulation. So one question that we need to ask is that if there is no energy labeling regulation, will people do it on their own? So what is the role of regulation? And I think it is, I advocate the view that regulations are important for the simple reason, it's a competitive business environment. Voluntary can work for some time, but in order to get this huge country with such a wide range of people and industries live in, I think we should ask for regulations. While we may say the bureaucracy regulations, why we need it, I think it is needed. So I vote for that. Whether it is connected with the regulations pertaining to energy labeling, or whether it is pertaining to e-waste, or whether it is pertaining to green buildings or the ECBC, so on and so forth. As much as we may hate the bureaucratic processes, I think this country needs it and the world needs it. Because otherwise there can be disparity, different people following different things, and we won't progress further. So I am a strong advocate that we have the regulations in place. And including, I often wonder if Montreal Protocol wouldn't have been there, things wouldn't have happened at that same speed. Once the regulation is there, we even completed higher with the deadline. I think same thing will happen for Kigali. I think Paris also will be met with. Now, whether there is harmony between the industry, regulators, and the judiciary, for example, and the civil society, where they are, right now there is a huge controversy here with regard to the Array Mill Colony Metro Depot related issue. So these are common. I think we should not be worried about it. It's a huge country. All these things will happen. As far as we are progressing, it is fine. And yes, if there is a regulation, there will be bureaucracy, and healthy debate should take place, and there may be litigations. It is fine, And for the development of the nations, the amount of good work that is being done versus the pain points that are there is negligible still. Yeah, compared with any other country, I don't think we are wasting too much time in that. That is fine with us. Now, the whether the regulations alone will do, whether something else also will have to happen. I told you the air conditioner example. The industry had an agenda. They wanted energy labeling because there was power cut and there is air conditioner sales have happened. So that was one interest, but much larger interest is I have to wipe out that 40% of the assemblers. The moment energy labeling comes, it will happen. That was the story at that point of time. And so there is something else also needed in order that a movement takes place. You have in place a few things that look, the integrated reporting of the listed companies and the sustainability reporting, BRSR is something that is coming up from next year. So therefore, the and the whole ESG framework and the assessment related with that, I think it is good that you will be happy to report and you will be able to stand with your heads high that this is an organization or an enterprise that is progressing well. Whether there are enough rewards that are available, I am not very sure about it. And as a country, we are not good at that. Some industries do. Whether enough awards and recognitions are in place for the champions who are demonstrating it. And CIA works on that, IGBC is working on that. And I think there is enormous amount of scope, including those at the students level, how, or even at the school level, whether we are recognizing those champions. For example, I think one day India should recognize a sustainability champion for Bharat Ratna as well. So it is to that level, this subject is important. And I'm not very sure within the companies, including mine, we do not have, we have just started thinking about, look, the person who is pursuing sustainability. So you have big profit performance you may have, yeah, big new business development you may have, but probably we do not have an award for the sustainability champion. So this is some subject which the country will have to and the industry will have to apply their minds. Now, the in getting there, I will again go to the example that I know of. The fact of the matter is, air conditioning is a huge energy guzzler, whether it is for heating or cooling all over the globe. And the refrigeration is an energy guzzler. The cold store penetration is very small here, but it will grow. And it is a 24/7 it has to operate. And it is again, the carbon footprint of air conditioning, refrigeration, heating is very high. And I will give you that in Europe, which is consuming gas. Now, because of Russian gas and the energy security issues, they are waking up. The buildings are heated with the gas. So for your information, air conditioning is used for cooling in India and a few geographies like Middle East and in the United States for about a month. That's about all. Otherwise, it is used for heating. Now, space heating amounts to 70% of building energy needs. And heating of hot water is around 15%. And 85% of the energy building needs is for heating. That's how Europe is and most part of United States. So the fossil fuels are used to today, that whether it is gas from Russia or United States coal, this is how the systems operate. Now, the people found automobile as the big thing, and in order that we become energy efficient, sustainable, electric vehicles are in place. Fine. So with the advent of electric vehicles, auto industry has found a solution. Adaptation may take time and it may cost money, but they are progressing in the right direction. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Now, unfortunately, we do not have that alternate solution for air conditioning, refrigeration, heating. It is a breakthrough technology using some other material than refrigerant or compression expansion cycle that we use today is not available. It is yet to be invented. Many universities are working, many companies are part of the syndicated study, but I suppose one day in 10-year time frame, there are some technologies available, but it is not viable enough. So in air conditioning, you're not only looking at the energy efficiency, you're also looking at the ozone depletion because of the refrigerant, certain other refrigerants, you are looking at the global warming. So to give you a broad picture, the ozone depleting substances elimination was dealt with Montreal Protocol. Kigali will deal with global warming. Now the substitute to ozone depletion refrigerants are having global warming potential. So they are all high global warming potential or low global warming potential. But Kigali calls for zero global warming. So you mitigated ozone depletion, but you have landed in another problem. You are supposed to be migrating out of that and find a solution, a mitigation measure. Equally, that more the refrigerant is energy friendly, high the energy it will consume. Say for example, carbon dioxide is environmentally friendly refrigerant, but the energy efficiency that it delivers is poor. Or water is a great energy environment friendly refrigerant, but you can't cool with that. The needs of the cooling needs, the preservation needs in cold chain, all that cannot be met with that as well. So you got this issue. What is ozone friendly is going to be global warming, and you are getting the blends there. Today it is ozone friendly, it is zero global warming is possible. And when zero global warming and this is achieved, unfortunately, it is not energy efficient. So a combination of this is the one that is supposed to be developed. Apart from the fact that like EV equivalent, what will happen in the industry, one doesn't know. But air conditioning, heating, ventilation is in the limelight. Whether you take the UN, whether you take the bilateral agencies, everyone is worried about this heating, cooling, refrigeration is a big burden on earth. Of course, there is construction, cement and all that, but a very, very big burden on earth is connected with this. So therefore, energy efficiency is the focus. So how do I get more and more energy efficient every year? That's why the inverter technology came into picture. So you're all aware the DC is the one which we grew with, including the electric trains were DC and we all used DC. But when the GDP grew, population grew and the country grew, you need to transmit electricity. So transmission losses were the issue. So DC was converted into AC. In the process, AC you cannot directly use. AC motors and others came into picture, but then AC is not a way through which you can control the speed or control the energy. So we are now, the inverter is nothing but you are converting AC into DC. We have come 360-degree complete in order to be doing this. And then you are into using the power of microprocessors, how I can go ahead and do this inverter technology, which is a good development in the past 1 decade. And so in India, that when I started my career many years ago, it was only window air conditioner. Even in 90s, 40% of the air conditioners sold were window, and it has reduced to 10. Now, fixed speed was at 90% till around 5 years ago. So it is slowly now becoming that every AC used is inverter. Now, the potential of inverter both in residential and commercial applications is huge. So there is one inverter technology which originated obviously from Japan. So it is Japan, Korea, then it is China, and fortunately India is there. So India is now a powerhouse as far as inverter technology is concerned. Now, equally in terms of motors, that you are moving back to brushless DC motor or the BLDC, this is another important component that is driving the energy efficiency measures. So therefore, the point that I am trying to make is simple. The innovation and R&D is an important element of energy efficiency. So you need to be focusing on R&D and innovation. Now, without which you are not going to accomplish. Whether it is a breakthrough innovation to move away from compression expansion cycle, that is 10 years apart. But every model that you introduce, how you will be environmentally compliant, at the same time highly energy efficient, as I explained to you, plus you are going to be also ensuring that it is affordable. The fact of the matter is, it is going to cost money in order to be ensuring you are producing an energy efficient product. We have been into the energy labeling program. I think it is around 15, 16 years we have completed since it was introduced in India. But the industry as a whole, it is just 25% of the AC sold are 5-star air conditioners. Predominantly 3-star air conditioners are only bought. Now, what is the reason? It is not that a consumer hates 5-star air conditioner. The consumer is not able to afford that. He will be happy to buy a 5-star if it is available at an affordable price. The only way government is doing is it is eliminating that what is today's 2-star, it will be eliminated a few years later, and it will be going out of it. Then you will by that process keep improving the energy efficiency. But the industry is disappointed why only 30% of the people end up buying 5-star air conditioners. So then what is the route industry adopts? Industry is asking for, look, can you subsidize, which Japan or China had done it, that go ahead and say the GST which is being charged 28% will be only 12% or 5% for 5-star air conditioners. Can we do it? But the government is not able to do it because of revenue reasons. And the other thing is that you give it for one industry, every industry will be asking for. And so the issue is that, look, it makes sense, and you look at the life cycle cost, it will pay back. They should pay a higher price. But we are not, as an industry, we have failed. The initial cost of acquisition is very high. People cannot afford, and they end up saying, I'm using it for 3-4 hours in summer season, and it is not, they are not able to afford it. They feel, I would like to acquire today rather than my savings coming over the years. So while that dialogue with the government will go on, the point that I want to make is R&D and innovation is important. India has made a good beginning. India have competent people, whether it is inverter, microprocessor, BLDC motor, and talent-wise, there is no issue. We have an issue in terms of scale that I will come to. The question is, I don't think government can incentivize in this country. They have got many other social obligations. So therefore, it is industry's role to figure out how I will make the product affordable. I took a air conditioner example. It may be applicable for any other technology which is going to deploy inverter or BLDC motor. Now, the problem is with R&D. So I'll give you some figures. India's R&D spend as a percentage of GDP is 0.66. It has been declining over the past 3 years. And you have Japan, 3.3% of GDP is R&D expenses. South Korea is 4.8%. Germany is 3.1%. China, such a huge economy, 2.2%. United States, 2.8%. Israel, you can imagine, 5%. Taiwan is 3.3% of their GDP. India is at 0.66% of GDP. So if you plot in a graph GDP growth of a country, R&D investment as a percentage of GDP, you will see a correlation. China when it grew, Japan when it grew, Germany when it grew, Israel when it grew, Taiwan when it grew, it is very clear that countries who grew in terms of real GDP invested more in R&D. India's R&D problem is not even with government. Government also is spending less, but the worst performers are private sector industry. We have also not, as a percentage of revenue, investment by Indian companies are poor. So it reveals in many data. Say, for example, 2017 data is available. India had only 253 full-time researchers, whereas Japan had 5331. South Korea had 7980. This is number of full-time researcher per million of population. You can imagine India per million of population 253, Japan 5331, South Korea 7980, China has 1300, Taiwan has 6380, Israel has got 8342, United States 4400, Germany 5200. Even Brazil has 888 against our 253. What it reveals, we perhaps do not attract R&D talent. We will end up paying poor salary to them. And you know that in this country, the professors and lecturers in a college will get paid poor. And same should be the case. It is not an attractive vocation, and we don't incentivize them. We don't probably. I told you where is that Bharat Ratna, a research and development guy, will get one day. We will realize. Now, I'll only deal with one more data. Then I should close this because my commitment to close on time. That India was, if you look at the patent applications filed in India. While the non-resident patent application filed in India was approximately 34,000, resident patent applications filed were little over 16,000. Okay, as far as India, in India patent office. The corresponding figures for Japan, 60,000 were non-residents, 2,54,000 is a resident. In South Korea, non-resident were 47,000 and resident applications were 1,63,000. China received 1,48,000 non-resident patent applications versus domestic applications is 13,94,000. So one may dismiss China, they are copying, they are doing some fraud and all that stuff you can. But look at no other country. The resident applications were lower than non-resident applications. You can look at various data points that are all available. The past president of CI is Naushad Forbes. He has done extensive work. So he will be very passionate to talk about that. So I am driving home this particular point that you need, we have done well. I have no complaints. So the IGBC or the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, the energy conservation laws, the way it has been implemented, and you won't come across any fraud in this country in terms of somebody fudge the star labeling and all that stuff. Everything has been done exceptionally well. India rose to the occasion, adapting technologies like inverter, BLDC motor, despite the scale disadvantage we have got or the infrastructure bottlenecks that we have got. But in order that you migrate a whole lot of population, you need to make it affordable. For making it affordable, you need actually the R&D and innovation, which for other reasons also is needed. I don't think India's GDP growth will happen or a company's growth will happen without R&D investments. So it has to be. And then I have to close now. I conclude by saying that I said that how I can make a difference as an individual. Anyway, so many people are there, so many industries are there, all are consuming, and 70% of the buyers are 3-star products. What can I do? A few things that we can do. My request is that look, how you conserve energy personally at home or at workplace, that little difference is something that you should do and you should make it known. And whatever little thing that you do, and you can become a IGBC member. I think you should encourage your employees, friends, colleagues to become an accredited professional. Yeah, if not IGBC, at least become an accredited professional on sustainability or energy conservation some way. And if you are living in a building, please pursue it to be a green energy efficiency building. If you are having an existing building, migrate that. And most importantly, support. It doesn't cost any money. How many student chapters we can have, how we can take it to more and more towns and schools. Our experience shows in smaller towns, the adaptability is easier. And these are my broad views, and I close this here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm
Thank
requesting
you.
Kiran has collated all the questions. I'm requesting Kiran to go ahead with the questions.
Thank you so much, sir. I think the areas you covered were on policy, technology, regulation, energy efficiency, all of them. And there are several questions that have come, sir. I've put them together in a few areas so that we could take your views on these. As you rightly said, sir, the broader refrigeration and air conditioning as an industry, as a consumer, is becoming larger and has a significant role to play maybe in the net zero movement of the country itself. Right now, we are looking at cooling a larger number of places, but also several new areas are emerging. New areas being something like data centers, something like the 5G telecoms, where a large amount of infrastructure is expected to be built. Cold storages, what we have right now and what is required, I think there is a magnitude of several hundreds of times of effort that is required. And also cooling during transportation, sir. I think all these will certainly enhance the cooling requirement in the country. How do we make these infrastructure more efficient, sir? How do we reduce the load by demand? Is there any technology that is coming up? Is there anything that you can think of which can make the difference in terms of reducing the energy impact of cooling load of all these newer developments?
A great question. It has to be looked at three buckets. One is here and now. So you can't go and discourage consumption of air conditioning or refrigeration.
Yes.
It is while the GST rate is same as that of some sin products, so it is not a sin product here. Perhaps it is something which is not very essential like that somebody may be, but today it is essential. So in a huge society like ours, I do not think that you can go ahead and do that, restrict the consumption. Okay. What is the real issue? Real issue is big boys are happily consuming without any energy efficiency. Now, India's energy efficiency norms are far superior in the world. So you do have big countries already developed, consuming a lot. So there is this issue of they are telling you what you have to do, but whereas they are not following. So that's a phenomena that is there. The government has understood it. They are negotiating well on that front. Now, within this, I think this graded approach of once in 2 years energy efficiency norms will be revised. And I will go ahead and include more and more equipment, like for example, from room air refrigerators to LED lights, room air conditioners. Now deep freezers are included, chillers are included. You are going to get the cold stores coming in. So this movement should continue. And as the industry grows, we should keep tightening the energy efficiency norms, no doubt about it. While I am an advocate from the industry point of view for a GST thing, that I have given up. I don't think we should again bang on some GST deduction too, but instead focus on how we will go ahead and put in, as I mentioned, research and development in order to bring down the PLI scheme, which is going to grow the scale, will help. Now, you can go ahead and do BLDC motor development, and you can go ahead and get the startups to, or the unicorns to go ahead and do this kind of activities in both microprocessor or BLDC motors. So I have confidence that this will take place. This is one here and now issue, without stopping the industry, without stopping the consumption, and keeping the aspirational middle class. I'll tell you that in case of air conditioner, 90% of the sale, in fact, it is 92% as our estimate is first time buyer. 65% of the sales is happening in tier 3, 4, 5 towns. 45% of the sales are through consumer finance. Aspirational middle class is driving the growth of room air conditioner consumption. So how do you go and tell him you need 5-star, you need sustainability, you do all this? It is not. You have to fulfill that. At the same time, keep graduating him to this. Only solution is industry focusing on their R&D in order to make the product more affordable. It may be even, you can take out the cost in a number of ways. You look at a remote control. People are using it for on-off, fan speed, lower adjustment at most. Other 80% of the features in that remote control, nobody is using. And why are we wasting our time in that? It is unnecessarily burdening. Nobody understands. It is just not touched at all. Even including Blue Star, nobody uses. So that's a fact. So you have to take out costs. There is a PLI scheme. There is indigenization initiative, and we will get there. One part. The second part is, what are those alternate technologies? So air conditioning is a equipment. So until the building is designed, you won't achieve the net zero or your energy consumption, right? That east-west phasing or which roof, what is there, these are important. So how our architects do job, many of them are IGBC members. So therefore, how do I ensure even the installation and servicing is taken care of? Half the problem is solved if the air conditioners are serviced and installed properly. Energy consumption goes up because of wrong installation. You talked about large buildings. Now, the fact of the matter is, above the false ceiling in that duct that is running, that duct has got in most places 20 to 25% leakage. That's a fact. And we are a country where there is no regulation. I don't think many developed countries also have got it. I should not blame India alone. That ducts are not cleaned only. That is, if you open a duct which is 20-year-old, 25% of that area will be many dust inside or debris inside. And there will be fungus and there will be mold. That is the way we are breathing in that building. It is obviously a cause for the air management, water management, and the building design are important for the energy efficiency of the equipment. You can focus on chiller, but the total system focus have to be there. That is the second aspect of it, which will have to be done by the designers, installers, service providers. This is the next part. The third is the breakthrough technology. Like, for example, there is Maryland University has undertaken a huge research, and you might have read some article about Bill Clinton supporting this, Richard Branson. So like that, there are Global Cooling Prize and other initiatives. I think we should participate and continue to look at whether there are some breakthrough technologies that are available. And fortunately, India has a regulation. It is not fully followed that you cannot, where is the need for cooling into an extent you are shivering, whether it is a bus or an aircraft or whether it is connected with the buildings. And quite often you find that because you don't care about the settings there, the controls are not working, or you don't do the air and water balancing. So these are some things the industry can do. The question is the energy modeling of that. So yeah, and the way forward is like you all do in the green building, it has to be a third party commissioning. So forget the residential party. Any commercial building, if you do the third party commissioning and validation, you will get the answers. And I don't think energy modeling of a large facility is an expensive proposition. So the data center by design should be doing a energy modeling before designing the air conditioning system is my view.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. There are several questions on cold storage, sir. I mean, that's another area where cooling plays a predominant part. While on one side we are looking at affordability of the material that is stored. You mentioned about protocols and standards, sir. Do you see protocols and standards coming in cold stores, driving efficiency improvement, and thereby reducing the cost of storage? Is that one area where you think efficiency and affordability can both be improved, or is there any other way of improving these in the cold storage areas?
Yeah, but you know this part, definitely you know this, the wasted food, how it is contributing to global warming is a big subject by itself. So you have that issue. So it is in the interest of the country for multiple reasons. You don't want to be part of global warming, so food wastage should be prevented. Second is that it is if you don't allow it to perish, the farmer's income goes up. So you are the estimates vary from 20 to 30% are getting wasted. That much income will come. You are supposed to be doing processing, and the food processing industry has to be grown in a big way. So there is something that you can do. All that I am saying is it is not connected with cold storage efficiency. Now come to the protocols. The question is that there are standards developed by National Horticultural Board, standards developed by National Center for Cold Chain Development, the protocols for, in this case, you will have way banana will be ripened is different from way apple will be stored or how the potatoes will be stored. So there is many things that are supposed to be looked into because it is about the temperature conditions as well as humidity. This is how, even if you take a seed storage, the capacity building is an issue. So the number of consultants who can advise is a question mark. You have very eminent consultants, few in big cities, but this is a rural subject. The second one is connected with the subsidy regime. In order to get a subsidy, you assemble something and put together and you get something. Now the continued worry of initial cost is the burden, not my running cost. So this is the other subject which is there. Now you will find bunker coils being used for potato cold storage in plenty across the country, which are highly energy efficient. Now CI has been working with the government at as one program. We should go ahead and ensure the modernization of cold chains will be incentivized. So you need to. But equally, I am not worried. I am optimistic for a different reason altogether. I am optimistic because the moment you go ahead and encourage 3 end results, because quite often that lever won't be available there. Some other lever you have to operate. So one is that you have to push processing of food. The moment food is to be processed, that investor in that, whether it is a Pepsi or Coke or McDonald's or McCain, they are going to be doing the capacity building, guiding the people at what temperature you need to bring in, how it is, I'm assured quantity, price realization, so on and so forth. It will happen first lever. Second is continue to push for connecting with global food chain, that is CI is one of the goals, and ensure export opportunities come. The moment somebody from Erode has to export turmeric, or somebody from Telangana have to export chili, or somebody from Assam to export turmeric, and somebody from Kerala to export spices. So obviously you are going to be guided by certain norms, including geotagging and what conditions, how you will do, so on and so forth. And therefore that is another lever. So push for food processing, push for exports, and while FDI in retail is not happening, modern retail is beginning to happen. Do that. There it is possible, bring in regulations. Like for example, using fumigation for ripening a banana is banned by law. So obviously people migrated to ripening chambers. By and large, still they may be doing. So there is this part of it. Most importantly, grow the rural market so that the consumption there grows. The part of the problem of India is that everything has to come to Chennai. That is the issue. So therefore, these are the things that is to be done. Now coming to equipment, you do have deep freezers getting into the energy labeling program. Cold storages will follow. And again, air conditioners, air conditioning has embraced inverter, BLDC motor. Refrigeration is yet to. So it will happen. So the companies are pioneering, and I think that is there is a time lag. That's where it is.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you spoke about refrigerants, and you also touched upon the need and relevance of conventions like Montreal or Kigali and how that is helping bring a change. But one other effect that is bringing in is the higher energy consumption as the ODP or the GWP of the refrigerants keep going down. The specific energy of the operations become higher and higher. Is there, I mean, do you see any other refrigerants coming in, sir, which can help achieve both the GWP being lower as well as efficiency being much better?
So there is fundamentally it's one of my pet subjects, mindset change, that we do not need foreign technologies to achieve this at all. Okay. Now, India is a country with full of bright engineers. That's a fact. Okay. Many of them may not speak great English or something like that. We end up judging by that. The fact of the matter is, I am of the view, greatest engineering talents collectively across every sector you put together will be in India today. and it will continue to be so, because we are people with the brightest minds. We are there. Okay, now, and as a percentage of total population, I'm not saying other countries do not have the large number of people. And in fact, I head the National Rural Development Council, that one of the subjects we are working on is the rural engineering colleges, how they produce R&D talent. And similarly, we are finding in the gender diversity issue, many women engineering students make great R&D engineers. So this is the background on which I am. Now, India need not to look at Europe or Americas for their refrigerant. The Central Chemical Research Institute kind of institutions, if we are capable of developing space missions so successfully at the lowest price, we are capable of developing a refrigerant blend. And it is not a rocket science. Refrigerant is not a rocket science. I am of the view India should develop, and the government is working on it. If I am not mistaken, they have already started and they will be getting there. So this kind of research you can't expect one company to do. It should be a government mission that I am going to develop a refrigerant which is energy efficient. But notwithstanding the fact that there are large refrigerant players who will also not miss the bus. They will go ahead and develop this.
Thank you, sir. The last question that I had, again, sir, as a summary of many questions, was one, you spoke about engagement with academics, sir, and engagement with academics, as well as getting more and more students pursue R&D, and maybe more specifically R&D in the refrigeration and air conditioning space, which we are discussing today. In your opinion, sir, is there anything that should be done more to engage? Because just a couple of months earlier, we had the director of IIT Delhi addressing us in a similar platform, and he has been openly talking about engagement with the industry and from an academic institution's perspective. From the industry perspective, sir, what do you think are maybe the top 2 or 3 things to be done to enhance this collaboration more?
Yeah, so I can become controversial here, but that is not the intention. The first part is connected with the industry itself. They pay very poor compared with any other industry. Air conditioning, refrigeration is a very complex subject. So you know it is to do with mechanical, it is to do with chemical, it is to do with electrical. Of late, it is to do with electronics, microprocessor. So you cannot operate this. Take for example, air conditioner installation in your house or Giri's house. That guy is supposed to be lifting such a heavy equipment, and there is some amount of plumbing, carpentry work involved, and to top it all, that will be at such a height. The indoor unit to be fixed at a particular height, and the outdoor unit heavy has to be put somewhere down, and for servicing he has to do that kind of work. And that guy is paid lower than a driver. He is paid lower than a retail store assistant, and he is paid lower than a security guard in the office. So the question, and to top it all, the air conditioning companies will be announcing installation free. The day you say installation is free, you have a complete disregard for that fellow. That is how we view it. You are not even valuing it. You may say I'm absorbing, but you are absorbing what happens, then you want to reduce the cost. So why it should cost 1,500 rupees, 700 rupees, you are going and reducing the money paid to him. So it starts with the industry. You are not paying the engineers adequately for the complexity that is involved. So I was involved with, I tell this story, I'm involved with many NGOs who are teaching air conditioning, refrigeration, vocational education. Now, a beautician, a pedicure, manicure, you will have retention. You will have people, plumber, yes, electrician, yes, driver, yes. But the air conditioning, and it is easy for them to learn. This guy, you are telling him refrigerant, there are some 10 refrigerant variants. There are pipe sizes. There are pressure. There is nitrogen used for cleaning, and there is coil. There is electronics. There is remote control. There is electrical connection of indoor-outdoor unit. And structurally, he has to fit it properly. It is a school dropout or a guy who has passed out with the average mark. How will he absorb all this? Even if he absorbs, he deserves to be paid at least 15,000 rupees. Now his starting salary will be 8,000 rupees. So he will be happy becoming a driver, driving an air-conditioned car, or he's a security guard. He can become a retail store assistant. The fundamental problem is connected with this. This is the first problem. So heat and mass transfer, air conditioning technology, how many people in the colleges are going to prefer? It's a difficult science. I'm not saying other things are easy, but you are not paying adequately for somebody to be studying so much there. And connected today, I'm telling you, he has to know microprocessor and digital control, because remote control, many things have come in, remote monitoring has come in. This is the first part. The second part is quite often, I'm not criticizing, in India, the convergence of research institutions, academia, and industry has not happened. In the United States, it has happened. In Japan, it has happened. In Korea, it has happened, because they are all pursuing the same thing what is required. But here, academia is somewhere in some sphere which will not be useful for the real life industry needs. Yeah, research institutions are doing something else. So this convergence is something which we, like CA kind of institution, should work how I can converge so all of them are in the same platform. And quite often, the CEOs, including me, are busy running the business, not sparing adequate time to this subject. So we are lucky of that. From the academia side, many of them are happy writing see, my happiness comes from quarterly results and dividend paid and growth shown and CNBC I have spoken. That is my joy. Many professors, if they publish a research paper, that is their joy. So we are in two different worlds. That is where the issue is. So all have to happen. We have to pay more and recognize. Engineers in India are paid poor. That is the issue. And an MBA will get paid more. I'm part of that. I'm guilty. I apologize for it. I have not accomplished in my lifetime. Again, I'm telling you that a professor is ready to do some publishing a paper, writing a book. So I have seen this all over the world. The greatest joy of a professor comes from writing a book and publishing a thesis and presenting a paper. The alignment is a collective effort of industry and academia together. But there are success stories, yes. There are great deal of success stories across. The first thing is that, look, I hold like Professor Bhaskar Ramamurthy as one of my mentors, that he awakened my eyes with regard to the subject of, look, you can develop microprocessors, BLDC motors and all locally much more competitively than someone else. So like that, there are very exceptional stories. We have to do more. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. There were some more questions which we will try to put them together, send it to you, and then
I will be happy to respond. You can mail it to me.
So Thiagarajan, before we close, I think it was a brilliant presentation and brilliant answering of questions. There are quite a few students and young professionals working on energy efficiency who are listening to your talk, sir. There are nearly about 150 of them. They are all looking at sustainability, energy efficiency as their career opportunity. Your last word of wisdom or advice, sir. Thank you.
Fine. The question is, it is the future. Like you know that one of the mentors of CII was Mr. Prahalad. He had declared at some point of time the companies of future will have to be sustainable. I am really amazed in late 90s how he got this very rightly. The important requirement of the companies is that by the same score, the future belongs, as far as professionals are concerned, they should be connected with sustainability. So you will be the future. So I compliment you for doing that. And Prahalad's second thing was that to read exactly his line, the businesses that will survive and prosper will be those which adapt to innovation and sustainability. So the innovation is the second part of it, and So talk about innovation, push innovation, and join this mission to awaken everybody that India's GDP growth will happen only through research and development and innovation. And it is something that can happen even without capital. So the innovation is the one which quite often many great innovations happened without capital, and India's moment has arrived. And the truth is that it is in the hands of the youth like you. And so from CI side, IGBC side, and from Blue Star side, we will be happy to interact with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We immensely enjoyed the lecture. And to all the delegates who have participated, thank you very much for participating. And this, there have been some questions on whether the presentation will be available. Yes, the presentation will be available in YouTube, like the earlier distinguished lectures in a few days' time will be uploaded very shortly, and the links. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We come to the end
Thank
of
you very
this.
much. I enjoyed interacting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. I thank Mr. Suresh and the IGBC executive members as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.